I've always loved camping, and the Bolivian wilderness was on my bucket list. I packed my bags and embarked on my journey with my friends, excited to explore the vast expanse of unspoiled nature. The first few days were amazing. We hiked through the dense jungle, crossed raging rivers, and climbed towering peaks. We even caught glimpses of exotic wildlife like jaguars and tapirs. But things quickly took a turn for the absolute worst. One night, while sitting around the campfire, we heard strange noises coming from the forest. At first, we thought it was just some animal, but the sounds became more and more human-like. We were all on edge, but we decided to ignore it and try to just go to sleep. The following day, we woke up to find that some of our supplies were missing. We assumed it was just some animal that had taken them, but we were so wrong. As we continued our journey, we saw signs of human activity. We found footprints, broken twigs, and even discarded clothing. We tried to rationalize it by telling ourselves that some local tribespeople were curious about us, but we couldn't shake the feeling that something was just not quite right. As we continued to hike, the feeling of being watched grew more and more pronounced. Then, finally, we started to see figures lurking in the shadows. They would disappear every time we turned around. We were absolutely terrified at this point, but we didn't want to give up on our adventure. That was until we were confronted by an unknown tribe. I had done quite a bit of research and had not heard anything about a specific tribe being uncontacted in this area, but I had read that it was possible that they could exist. They were a fierce-looking group, dressed in rough animal skins and carrying crude weapons. They didn't speak our language, and we couldn't understand theirs. They made it clear that they didn't want us there, and we knew we had to leave before things worsened. But before we could leave, they attacked us. We tried to fight back, but they outnumbered us by far and had the advantage of knowing the terrain. Finally, we were forced to abandon our supplies and run for our lives. We were lost and alone in the wilderness with no way to communicate with the outside world. Days passed, and we ran out of food and water. We were exhausted and on the verge of giving up, but we refused to let these unknown tribespeople defeat us. We finally managed to find our way back to civilization, but the memories of that terrifying trip have stayed with us for years. I still have scars from the cuts and bruises that I gained from all the plants and falling while trying to run. We avoided many traps and all kinds of crazy contraptions that they had put out there in the woods for what I assume is protection and potentially hunting. Now, whenever I hear strange noises in the forest, I remember that camping trip and shudder at the thought of what could have happened to us. I know that the story was short, but I had to share it. It's one of those things that just haunts me every single night of my life, and it would be nice to have some sort of therapeutic escape. I love camping in the woods with my husband, John. We're both avid outdoorsmen and love spending time in nature. We have a hunting property in North Carolina that's perfect for us. It's about 300 acres of thick forest with plenty of wildlife to hunt. One night, John decided to go hunting at night. He wanted to try to get some hogs. There was a deer stand about a mile away from our campsite, so I wasn't worried about being left alone. We always carry a pistol with us, so I felt safe. John set up the tent while I got comfortable inside. Before he left, he gave me a walkie-talkie. He said he would be back in a few hours, and to call him if I needed anything. I watched a few YouTube videos before trying to go to sleep. About 30 minutes later, I heard leaves crunching outside the tent. It was a good distance away, so I didn't think much of it. Maybe it was just a deer. The crunching sound slowly got closer to the tent. The steps sounded slow and deliberate, like something was trying to be quiet. I turned off my phone and listened. I could hear it circling the car. At first, I thought it was John coming back. He hadn't called me on the walkie-talkie, but maybe he just forgot. I didn't want to call out to whatever it was, in case it wasn't him. There were windows that I could unzip in the tent, but it was pitch black outside. I loaded my pistol and called out, "Honey, is that you?" The crunching sound stopped. Then, I heard the leaves crunching again, but this time it sounded like it was running away. I didn't know what to think. Maybe it was just a deer that was curious. I told John what had happened, but the walkie-talkie was just static. I tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't stop thinking about the noise. What had it been? Was it still out there? Suddenly, I heard a loud, guttural squeal. It sounded like a pig, but it was also gargling. I knew it wasn't an animal. I tried to call John on the phone, but the signal was too weak. I tried the walkie-talkie, but it was still static. I heard something sprinting towards the car. I felt a big thud as it hit the vehicle. Then, it started squealing again. I thought, "Please don't go for the ladder, please don't go for the ladder." The squealing stopped. Then, I heard a clinking noise. It was going up the ladder. I ran to the front of the tent and unzippered the cover. I pointed my pistol at the ladder and fired a few shots. The creature let out a scream that was even worse than the squealing. I heard it run off. I sat in the middle of the tent, my heart pounding. I could still hear something running around outside. I thought it was trying to kill me. Then, I heard John calling my name. I came down from the ladder and told him we had to go. Without a second thought, we packed up the tent and got in the car. We sped away, leaving the creature behind. I never went back to that campsite again. I'll never forget the sound of that creature's squealing. It still haunts my dreams. I was camping with a group of friends near the Grand Canyon, Arizona. We had just rafted the Colorado River and had a great day in the sun. We were telling scary stories around a campfire when my tent shook for a split second. We all walked over to inspect it and there was nothing, no one inside, no one around. We all had flashlights and looked for about 5 minutes in the sparse woods and rocky boulders for people, but it was there. We found a rock though, right by the tent, assuming someone had thrown it and that's what made it shake. We calmed down and we probably just forgot about it. It began to drizzle rain for about 3 or 4 minutes, killing off the fire. I went with 2 others to get some wood from the trees. We all had saws and knives to cut branches, if we had lighters too, and flashlights. We didn't go too far, but it was dark enough to see the fire just barely. There was only a faint glow. We saw something move, not too fast and not too slow, but a silent shuffle. A few steps and it stopped. It was pitch black, but from the glow of the fire and our lights we could tell it was watching the fire pit. It was close to the hole, but not close to us. We ran back and yelled and pointed, but there was nothing there. When everybody went to look, we were told it was our imagination. The adults went to their tents after stopping in to say hello. After a few moments we sat silent, listening for the thing to return. Dax wouldn't stop talking, but at least we got him to whisper. Angered, one of the adults came out of his tent asking which one of us scratched in his tent. He told us he was tired and wanted to get some sleep and that if he caught us he wouldn't let us have breakfast in the morning. We were all pretty shook by that because obviously everybody wanted breakfast. Something was wrong though. Kingston and Boston came back and we told them what happened. They asked us if we were being serious and we put it on the boys that we were. They said they saw and heard nothing. We figured it was Isaiah recruiting people in other camps to come scare us, but he was down at an opposite end of the campsite where we saw the figure go up and around through the trees just so they could scare us. I don't know. Things continued to happen though. We heard branches snapping, but every time we looked, nothing was there. We sent many search parties up through the trees and nothing was ever seen or heard. Finally, we all teamed up. Isaiah finally came back and the same thing began to happen. We explained and he denied that he heard or saw anything and that he had nothing to do with it. No one else was there to do it. It wasn't someone in our group. At this point, I, Kingston, and Boston went to our tents, shaken and scared. We tried to cheer each other up by watching memes and funny stuff on our phones, but nothing worked. Then all the others screamed. If you get Caden and Max to call, crap is serious. They all dived into our tent. We asked what had happened and they said they had gone looking for this thing once more. Now they were just mad. They wanted to get sleep and were being kept up by something, but as they were looking, they saw a shadow move and it was not theirs. It was like the dark itself had moved. Max was using his phone light and was filming for Snapchat to keep his friends at home posted. They heard a whistling when they were out there after seeing the shadow. They showed it to us on video. It was a long, high-pitched, creepy whistle. The last thing in the video is them jumping in the tent, zipping up the zipper, and you could pause the video in the previous 2 seconds and see that right before the zipper was done, near the fire pits, you could make out 2 eyes and a smile in the dark. Creepy long smiles with 2 big teeth are not the ones that I typically like to hear in a horror story, but this was real. It was right there in front of us. It was sinister, crooked, and had sharp teeth. We don't like to go camping anymore. It's too reminiscent. Sometimes we still camp together and we swear we can still see the tall, disturbing, omnipresent smile, shadowed by the trees, grinning at us.